Welcome back to Director's Choice. A good film franchise makes movies that people enjoy for years. But it takes a great film franchise to capture the collective imagination of the world and refuse to let go. Some things simmer in our collective imaginations while we wait for the next film, and fill our dreams with the infinite possibilities of a universe that is limitless because it is still being created. We cherish the movies we already have and eagerly await the release of the next big blockbuster.
Just head out for the horizon whenever I feel like it.
Perhaps the best evidence of how much we love a terrific film franchise is James Cameron's Avatar. Cameron has given us one Avatar movie, and it gripped the world with its thrilling story and compelling characters. But he isn't even close to finished.
As fans, you're waiting for a big cinematic epic event, which is going to be 4 films coming out, one after the other.
Cameron has plans to make not 1, but 3 more Avatar movies, making it the most highly anticipated film franchise in history. But there is more to the story than we realize.
You are not in Kansas anymore. You are on Pandora.
While the universe unfolds in front of us, some things will start to become clear. We will learn more about the characters and their history. But there are a lot of mysteries that can only be understood when we look between the lines.
Looks like you. This is your avatar.
There is really no telling where the story is headed, or what great secrets will be revealed. But like a lot of great film franchises throughout history, chances are some things will remain a mystery. It's because of the unknown that we keep coming back, hoping to find answers to our burning questions. And with 3 more movies coming in the Avatar franchise, it's hard to imagine that we won't get answers to at least most of these questions. But the fact is, some things will always be unknown, no matter how many movies are made. Even with 100 movies, it would be impossible to explain everything that made us so curious over the years. Perhaps one of the greatest secrets of the Avatar universe is the mysterious Eywa.
Eywa has heard you!
Eywa is the plant life force that the whole Avatar world is connected to, in one way or another. It allows communication, health, and history. But what is the Eywa really? Is it some kind of interconnected root system based on the massive trees? Or maybe it's a complex electrical system that a future universe has evolved to create for themselves. The truth is stranger than both of these things, and will also serve to explain some of the most unexplainable secrets in the Avatar universe. The truth is that the mysterious Eywa is actually a complex fungus that runs through the entire planet of Pandora. It seems strange, but no more strange than many of the other strange things that happen on Pandora. In fact, when we really look into the details of the idea that Eywa is a fungus, it starts to explain itself, and there is simply no other explanation as to how everything came to be, and what is in store for the rest of the Avatar franchise as we patiently await for the next 3 movies. Today, we're going to explain exactly how we know for a fact that Eywa is in fact a fungus.
Is that possible?
To keep things simple, it's important to understand that fungus like Eywa already exists. In fact, it is literally everywhere.
It holds the consciousness of nature's connection to all living things.
Maybe the best example is the fungus that clever scientists decided to name Humongous. That's right. The best known fungus in the world isn't a mushroom, and its description doesn't start with magic. Although, given the ideas behind Avatar, it's not a stretch to imagine some of those were involved as well. Humongous is a massive fungus that lives in Oregon, and it has been classified as the world's largest living organism.
We can heal the planet. We can build the future. And our world is fantastic.
Humongous the fungus covers nearly 4 square miles of Oregon, or to be clear, right under the surface of Oregon land. Prior to the discovery of this fantastic fungus, the previous record holder for the largest living organism was also a fungus. So they have a history of taking up a lot of space. As we continue to study this massive fungus, new discoveries indicate that not only is a fungus the largest living organism on the planet, they also have the newfound ability to communicate with each other. Fungus can alert other areas of similar fungi to food-sharing nutrients to keep themselves alive. and even predators to warn of incoming danger when we look closer at things that Fungus has already achieved on Earth and what Eywa is capable of on Pandora. The similarities start to become obvious, and there is no denying that Eywa is actually a fungus. With all things considered and understanding that a single fungus could cover such incredible space, it's not inconceivable that a planet like Pandora could exist. A planet where the singular life form responsible for the life on the planet is a collective fungi is one of the more realistic things about Avatar. We learn early on in the film that the plants on Pandora are communicating through a complicated electrical network of neurons and synapses, which is exactly how scientists are learning today that fungi are able to communicate on Earth and grow to such great sizes. When Sigourney Weaver sticks an instrument into the ground early in the movie, she remarks at the sheer amount of electrical signals, and these signals are exactly the neurons firing when fungi communicates, but on a larger scale.
Amazing, isn't it?
On a planet like Pandora, where the plant life is almost exclusively fungus, the electric readings just below the surface that pick up on activity would be off the charts, just like they are in the movie. It's not only the way the planet communicates that tells us the obvious real story about Eywa, it's the way they look. When we take a closer look at Pandora at night, one thing is very clear. Everything is very bright, and the forest is almost blinding. Every single thing in the Pandora forest lights up in a phenomenon known as bioluminescence. This is the strange occurrence in nature that causes plants and animals to emit their own bright lights. But when it comes to plants, we get another piece of the puzzle that is Eywa.
Who's in Eywa?
The truth is that there are no cases of naturally occurring bioluminescence among plants in the natural world. But there are a large amount of fungus that naturally create the process of bioluminescence. Naturally occurring bioluminescence only shows up in fungi, and almost every plant on Pandora lights up, meaning that Pandora consists almost entirely of fungi. Of course, this raises the interesting question of why do trees also exist on a planet inhabited mostly by fungus? Like any other fungus, the Eywa that is most of the life force on Pandora needs a host to function. But in this case, the entire planet is the host for the tremendous power of the Eywa. Trees and other organisms also live on this planet because without them, there could be no life for Eywa. In the pursuit of thriving on the planet, Eywa has catered the evolution of all life on the planet to its own needs. Eywa directly decides what lives and dies, to make sure that the circle of life continues in its own favor. A perfect example is Eywa's interference when Jake, in his avatar form, first becomes lost in the world Pandora, and he is soon discovered lost and wandering by Neytiri, as she aims her bow and arrow to kill him on the spot. But before she has the chance, Eywa interferes and keeps him alive. A spore from the Eywa fungus lands on him. Neytiri takes this as the will of the forest to keep him alive. But in reality, Eywa has made a collective decision that he should remain alive to help itself. It's a prime example of Eywa making a decision to benefit itself and stay alive. This occurrence happens more than once, and the will of Eywa reigns supreme because all of the creatures are descended from the mysterious fungus and understand it's important to their planet. When describing the reason she brings Jake the Outsider into the village against the wishes of her tribe, she states that there has been a sign. Based on the information at the end, they make a judgment call to allow him to stay based on the will of Eywa, but it's based more in the ideology that in order to stay alive and keep the planet thriving, it's important to listen to the will of this super fungus. It may seem complicated to imagine that an entire planet could evolve from a complex fungus like Eywa, but when we look at the proof, everything gets simple. When humans visit Pandora, they need to wear respirators in order to leave their shelter. That may seem like a small detail, but it's crucial. This means that the air on Pandora is breathable to humans, but something else prevents them from breathing the air. And that something else is the spores in the air released by Eywa, that is often clearly visible floating through the ether. The life on Pandora is acclimated to the harsh environment and breathing conditions because they evolved alongside the fungus. But the constant presence of spores would wreak havoc on the human body. There is a moment when Colonel Miles Quaritch, the biggest, baddest, and man in charge of security, leaves the enclosure for a moment without a mask, But briefly, even as fierce as he is, he still understands the importance of keeping that respirator on to avoid long-term damage to his body. So we know Eywa is actually a fungus. What does it all mean? It actually means quite a lot, honestly, because it changes the whole story of Avatar and the meaning of the story. The entire story becomes about the idea of the fungus, and more importantly, the idea of a more powerful and determined life force than even the Na'vi, who consider Pandora their home. The whole theme of Avatar and driving force in the film is the idea that humans are able to inhabit the bodies of the Na'vi to become part of the world, but it's much bigger than that. The same way that humans are using the bodies of Na'vi to control matters and avoid disaster, Eywa is inhabiting the whole planet Pandora, controlling things from behind the scenes. The real story is about an avatar, but it's not the Na'vi, it's the Eywa that's the true avatar form on this planet. The mercenaries who try to take control of the planet made a few fatal mistakes in doing so. They didn't take into consideration that the planet was already being controlled, but not by the Na'vi. While Sigourney Weaver tries to warn them that some greater force is at work, they refuse to listen, and their hubris leads to their destruction. Had they understood the forces at work, it's possible an antifungal would have done the trick, and no missiles would have been needed to bring down Eywa. While we wait for the next Avatar movie in the most anticipated film franchise in history, we can keep Avatar on repeat, and remember that Eywa is really a fungus and plays the most important part in the Avatar movies so far. Thanks for watching. Take a look at this other recent clip by Director's Choice, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified with our latest videos.